got myself a big 16-inch fan and hooked it up. Got all kinds of sending units, relays, fancy fuses. Much better than this bullet. Quite a bit bigger. So I'm just letting the motor warm up. We'll see how this thing works. Motor sounds better every day. Gonna have to get some gas pretty soon. Don't look like a thermostat. Choke works. Water temperature's not moving yet. That's right after, just before the thermostat, so probably take a little while to get it warm enough. It's not even moving it yet. And of course my temperature gauge here is pegged. I don't know, I think that might be the voltage regulator in for the gauges. I don't have any oil pressure either on this gauge, but none's hooked up. I got 50 pounds on that one. I'll open pretty soon. Motor sounds real good. Manifold's getting a little bit warm. I've got my little thermostat down here. Working. You'll just see, I'll let it open and then we'll see where the gauge is, and I'll turn the fan on. We'll see if it'll pull it down and shut itself off. This fan should be big enough. It's moving a lot of air. That little one didn't move much. Shows about 160. Start to feel it in the manifold a little bit. Nothing's opening yet. Getting close though. Bring it back when it gets to 180 and open. Gauge shows 190. Really not open yet. Thermostat, but we should be pretty close. But we see that dive as soon as it does. Just turned on because thermostat open. Heat that radiator up immediately. Here, see if I can see where I'm at. traveling about between 160 and 200. That's 40. I've got it set right at 180. So I've got it turned on. Thermostat's still on, yeah. Thermostat pulled it right down to 180 when it opened. So we'll let her heat up. Radiator's kind of hot, not that hot. That shows about 190. So turned it on at 190. Hopefully it'll pull it down to about 180 where I got it set and shut itself off. I'll let it run and see what it does here. The fan's been running like 2 to 3 minutes. It looks like it sucked it down to about 170 for the thermostat. When I got in the car, the fan was still running. It probably shut itself off. Yeah, it's still running. Anyway, it sucks it down to 170 from 190 down to 170. I think that's going to be good enough. The fan was holding it at 170. I shut the motor off. It ran for 30 seconds. Cool that radiator down enough to turn it off. So that big fan is working fine. I don't know if I'll hook up this little one where it runs at the same time. Whether I'll take it off and try to put this big one in back or in front. I kind of like the idea of a push fan, because you're not getting hot from the radiator, and also if I want to work on some stuff there, I'd rather not have that fan in the way. Anyway, the fan works. It was pulled it down from about 190 to 170. So good enough. I'm back here on the Mustang again. Still, I had to drill this lock cylinder out. I got a new one. So I have to take out this striker plate. There's I was showing you, but there's a nut on each side of it, or a bolt, and you take these bolts off. There's a square pin that comes out of the trunk lock that goes into that hole right there. Now inside this, there should be a big nut. Can't really see here, but there's a big nut. Feels like about a 20 inch and a quarter or something like that nut in there. That comes off and this whole thing will come out of the trunk. So anyway, basically this is what happens here. Looks like somebody's been in here and tried to modify that, put a screw in it. The screw shouldn't be in here. Looks like they tried to fix this clip so it wouldn't turn. Well, I'm sure that's not the way this goes. I think this little tab here on the bottom is supposed to fit into this hole right here. That's what keeps it from turning. I don't know if I'm gonna put this on now or just put the striker plate back in and continue to open it with a screwdriver. But I've got a new little lock cylinder here. And I'm going to see if I can get it in without I really need to clean this all up here and prime it at least, rather than put it back on top of this old paint. But for now I'm just going to try to get this lock cylinder in and just see if I can get it hooked up for it to work with the key. Got the old cylinder out, took that screw out of it. What happens is this thing, it's got a little pin right here that actually goes down into the lock cylinder, and that's got to be squished down. So you got to turn the key a little bit to the right, and you'll see that pin is right at or a little bit lower than the tumblers here. And on the lock cylinder itself, I don't know if you can see there, but there's a groove in the cylinder. It's on the short side, and this lock goes in there like this. This piece here, of course, goes into the tumbler. I mean the cylinder. So that goes in here, and then you can put your switch in there, and it should go straight in, and you can just press it. It should snap in, and then you can be able to turn it and pull the key out. This pin comes up in this hole here. You see it's not quite there yet, and that's what locks the key in. And I think it's just chewed up a little, is why it's not going in all the way from them putting that screw in it. Took a little doing, but you can see there that the pin popped up into that hole. There's a little O-ring that goes on here, so I squashed it real good, and I was able to get it close. And once you got it into your thing, or into the housing good, when you turn the key, I don't remember which way I turned it, counterclockwise I think, and there's a little ramp in there, and it pushed the pin up and it locked. So there's the key in the thing. Unfortunately, I pressed on it with a screwdriver here in a couple of places and dented it. So, just a word to the wise there. If you don't want a dent in it, don't press it with a screwdriver. But anyway, there's the lock in. Now I try to get the key out and it should be good. Started just trying to clean this up a little. They've got 1/4 of an inch of Bondo in there. So I'm not going to try to do this. I'm going to just get that Bondo off of this trunk right here and see what the problem is. That's why they had that screw in it. They probably couldn't get it to grab into this notch here and hold it. But I wasn't really planning on doing this, but I'll clean that up there and see what I can do about getting the sheet metal straight before I try to put that lock in. It wasn't too terribly bad. There was no reason to have a 1/4 inch of Bondo on it. It looks pretty straight. I took it back here to this edge. This bottom lip's got a dent right there, and right in this general area here. One way to do it would be to just cut that whole piece out of there and straighten it out and then weld it back in. But I got a pretty good hole there on the inside. I think I can reach in there with a pry bar and get most of this straightened out pretty good. That's what I'll do first, because I put a straight edge on it. Well, a piece of sandpaper that's straight, and it don't look too bad. You know, looks like the whole hole might be only 1/4 of an inch at the worst place, 1/8 of an inch. And that's mostly right in here and here. So I think I can bend most of that out, and maybe with a little heat I can get that pretty straight and not have to cut anything out. And of course I got a lot of Bondo down in here. You know, it's like at least 1/8 of an inch. So this might have been hit. I can't tell offhand if the the bumper's bent. Does look like it's caved in a little. But anyway, I know for sure I gotta straighten that out. If I can just get it mostly straight and some primer on it, I can go ahead and put the trunk lock in it. Wasn't planning on this today, but that's the way it goes. Try to fix one thing and you discover what's under it. Like always, one thing leads to another. And like I say, a lot of work there just for a trunk lock. Anyway, I'll straighten this out and see what happens. I straightened the panel out and got this one mostly welded in. Have a pretty big gap, so I just used some welding rod to fill the holes in. And I got the bottom here to do. I grind it all off, patch any little holes, and it should be pretty straight. This rod, of course, is crooked, but you know, there's like maybe a 1/16 of an inch there. Good enough. A lot better than it was. So let it cool off a little, and the main thing was doing these kind of panels is try not to get it hot. You should probably put a few little tacks and then blow it with air and cool it, but I've pretty much kept it where I can put my hand on it so it is not going to warp. And I just had to fix this little bottom ground down. Looks pretty good. It's not perfect by any means. Took quite a bit of work, but looks pretty decent. I'm gonna mix up some Bondo and put on it and try to smooth it out, and at least I can move on to putting on my lock cylinder. Looks pretty decent. Well, I decided to just go ahead and prime this. It's not real straight, but it was bare metal, so I used direct to metal primer. And I'll do a little more hammering on it, I guess, before I try to Bondo it. But this primer will help the the Bondo stick. A lot of times putting Bondo straight on metal, it wants to come off pretty easy. Gets water under it and rusts. And this is like an epoxy. It's got a hardener in it. So that'll help that Bondo stick to it. I'll probably just hammer this out a little. Looks like I got a little bend in it right there. And not the best in the world, but this is what I was measuring my straightness with, and you can see it's awfully close. A little bit of thin skin of Bondo and it'll be all right. Wish I had another trunk. That would be the way to go, but I can get this straightened out pretty much and be good enough, I believe.